has to be cohesion within that unit. It's just a special group. And as we all know, the offensive line is never going to get credit, and they're always going to get blamed. So, just having a tight-knit group is special to me. I love working with those guys, at any level. I always did the offensive line too, at Wall. So I always worked with them, and it was just, it's just something special about that group. They're hardworking, they're blue collar mentality. And you always get a couple of very, very good leaders from the offensive line as well. And I preach leadership in everything that I do, but especially with those guys in our meetings and our practice time, I'm preaching leadership all the time.
And they're the most unselfish group because they get everybody their success benefits everybody else, but they don't necessarily get any of the things in the paper or any of that kind of stuff. So it's a unique group. It's when guys buy in on the offensive line, it's a mentality that it's the most important thing as far as making the offense go, at least. Without a great offensive line, and the rest doesn't happen. And skilled guys are quickly reminded of that the first time they get tackled in the backfield, and so they have to remember. It doesn't matter how quick and shifty and athletic you are, if you don't have those guys making a path for you, you're not going to be able to exhibit all those skill sets.
Exactly.
So that's an important thing for them to always understand, and it's that's why you have to take care of those guys. And of course, they also like to eat, so they're always the most fun guys to be around as well from that standpoint.
So that's a big one, Coach. That's a really big one, because let's be honest, we talk some X's and O's and combos and zone steps, but we're also talking what's the best pizza place around, what's for dinner tonight. Hey, tonight's a Thursday night dinner. That'll be the topic of our as soon as we get together today, hey, what's on the menu tonight?
Yes, I think that's the greatest thing. And it's fun. Obviously, the offensive linemen in general are bigger guys. Although at the high school level, you can have various sizes, but that's the one thing that is always cool about them. Like they obviously food is one thing, but they are interested. A lot of times I found the offensive linemen are interested in a lot of things outside of football, even though they're incredibly, they have to be, your smartest guys, because they've got to understand and pick up things but they're also always have a variety of interests that are outside of football. And I think that's what makes them really, really so unique. And it's a great part about, what that mindset is. And they also uniquely know how to handle the quarterback as well. So whereas the quarterback is always a position, obviously that's a feature spot, but the quarterback knows he needs the line, and the line knows they need the quarterback, and they always uniquely handle them very well as well, because quarterbacks are a central part to obviously the offense, but there are also unique characteristics associated with them too. So it's what makes it all great in the football atmosphere. Talk about kind of how, when you were a head coach, some of the things that you had philosophically, some of the things that you like the harp on that helped you to have a lot of great success.
Definitely. One of the things when I took over, when I took over at Wall, as I said before, we're coming off a state championship. Success is awesome. It's great. We talk about all the time. How many times have you heard all the coach speaks say, focus on the process, you got to get to the top of the mountain, whatever it may be. When I took over at Wall, we were at the top of the mountain. We just won the state championship. They didn't go any further at that time in 2016 to play, North 1 or North 2.
Right.
So we were at the top. So, I wasn't taking over a bad program. I didn't have to rebuild. I just had to put my spin on it. And the three words that I used the 3 words that I used from day one were pride, poise, and team. And I mean, that was on my, my booklet that I handed the athletic director and the principal, like, hey, this is my interview. The pride, poise, team was on that. And, if you call any of my former players from Wall, and they say, hey, what was the motto? It was pride, poise, team. And pride was just taking pride in everything that you do. It's so cliche. But again, this is something that I lived because I played at Cherokee. Cherokee's motto, pride, poise, win. I just change it up a little bit with pride, poise, team. Taking pride in everything that you do, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's in the hallways, whether it's in the town, especially on the football field, and then the weight room. The success that we had at Wall was built in the weight room. And not only was it built in the weight room, we literally built the weight room because we got a brand new one. And we didn't have a company come in and do it. We came in on spring break and we took down the weight room. We took all the equipment out. We took the flooring out. We painted. We did all of that because I said, guys, this is your room.
Right.
And take pride in it. Poise is the other one that, sometimes we overlook. And poise is just doing the right thing at the right time and being cool under pressure. Because, from day one, I told my team, I tell every team, like, get ready for the limelight because you're going to play in big games because we're not here to go, have a mediocre year. We're here to be great. And then it's all about the team, together, everyone achieves more. Again, very cliche, but, when we drill this stuff home day in, day out, when we put it on T-shirts, when we put it on everything that we have, guys start living it. And when guys start buying in, there's only so much coaches can say. The players have to buy in. And when the players buy in and they start, policing everything, that's where the success happens. And, had a great group of guys and, the success, speaks for itself. We finished in 17 and 18, we applied that philosophy and we had some success. We made the playoffs both years in 17 and 18. And then in 19, we flipped the switch. And in 19, we finished 12-1. We won the Group 3 state championship, most wins in school history. We started the year 12-0. We lost to Woodrow Wilson at Rutgers, 12-7. But that team, and then we rolled that team with COVID and everything else going on. We rolled that team into 2020, finished 7-0, finished the year number 1 in the state.
Yeah, which is incredible, right? Because you think about it, like that's usually reserved for privates, right? Or parochials or whatever it was. And that was kind of our introduction to Shore, because 2019 was our first year when we were at RBR, and it was like these Wall dudes, like they don't fuck around. You know what I mean? It was like that was our, coming to the Shore. That's the way they do it, all of those things. And that, like you said, it was player driven, right? Yes, and definitely. But that came from culture, right? And the culture is really, guys always talk about culture, this, that. You have to instill that like all the time. Like the standard is standard, and irregardless of if it's training camp, if it's a state championship, if it's January in the weight room, there's a standard here, and we always abide by it. And when you're going into a new program to instill some of those things, it's tough because you still have some guys that probably, are looking a different way, or maybe they just don't, that takes time. But when you do things like, guys, we're building the weight room ourselves, or when you do hold those guys accountable, and then I always say, like, we always say that, good teams are led by coaches, but great teams are led by players. And like you said it back when I can say and talk to them blue in the face about culture, about this, about that. But until until the players on your team are abiding by other players on the team, right? And it's hard to be a leader and a captain. Like it's not easy, especially in today's day and age. Like it is so hard. So when those guys start to instill it, right? And you're just kind of like passing by and you just hear that conversation where a guy's like, buddy, like you only did 5 reps. We're supposed to be doing 10. Like get back on there and do it. Or, there's tons of examples like that. Sure. But that's when I think you can get that team to kind of take the next step. But it's really difficult, especially at the high school level where, you got guys on the team that kind of just want to be there, or whether, they want to be a part of it. And why am I going to listen to that guy? Right? Because, I know best, right? But when you set that standard, I think consistency is what really brings it about, right? Like, and irregardless of the situation, like this is what we're holding you to.
Right.
I think that really helps when you're building and when you're getting there. And then ultimately when you get there, 2019 happens, right? Like that's something that, hey, this is the example of you're knocking on the door. And then that next year you just flip that switch where you have, it helped that you had some really, really good players, coach, like all of us, we all know it's about Jimmy those two. But
absolutely. Coach, I wouldn't, I wouldn't be telling these stories if it, and let me go back too. We had great coaches. I think our staff was, top notch. Like the best coaching staff around. And
you had a really good mix too.
Yeah.
Right? Like you had a nice mix of a little bit older, right? Or former head coaches or guys that, then younger guys. Like you have to have that balance within a staff. Right. That's that every kid, some way, shape, or form, has their coach, right?
Yes.
They have the guy that gets on their ass, but they also have the guy that they can go to who's kind of loving them up. And that balance within a staff to know, all right, this guy might poison my water bottle. This guy is going to buy me lunch. You know what I mean? Like you have to have that. Each guy has, and I think it doesn't have to be your position, coach. It could be just that guy. You know what I mean? Those are the best staffs. The mix, I think it's the mix, especially with the way kids are now, because it's no longer cookie cutter coaching, right? No, like it is not one way. Absolutely, 100%.
Every
that's
kid
the
is
difference.
Different.
I think one of the biggest difference.
Teaching is coaching, man. Just like in the classroom, like kids are going to learn differently. Not every kid is going to respond the same way.
Nope.
We had a really good mix. We had a really good mix of coaches, but then again, getting back to the players, we had really good players, but every player bought in. And I'll just say that 2019 team, they were young when I first got there. And here's one characteristic. They were talented. I'm not taking anything away from their talent. Guys, they loved the weight room. They loved the grunt, and I would murder them. I would crush them in the weight room, and they'd come back the next day, say, "Give us more, coach. Let's go.
Yeah,
we want more." And that really set the tone for years to come. And it was just awesome to watch and just see them turn it. And it was all the modern day game. If you go back that year. It was a Saturday afternoon game at Mater Dei, and I had a pregame speech in mind. We're going in. They were number 1 in the Shore. We were number 2. We were 4-0. They were 4-0, and we just kept going in. Like, hey, guy, we instilled the family mantra too. Like, forget about me, I love you. It's all about us. Those guys don't know each other. I had the whole speech set up until pregame. And one of Mater Dei's coaches said a few things to me that I didn't like at all, and that set me off.
Interesting.
Yeah, that set me off. And let me tell you,
that was the end of it.
That was it. As soon as he said that to me, I'm like, yeah, we're winning. We're winning this one.
That's it.
And just to see those guys come from, the struggles in 17 and 18 of not getting to the mountaintop, and then, see what we did in 19 and then have it roll into 20 and like even 21, that was my last year there. But, that was still that group that, a lot of the seniors in 21, they were sophomores in 19. A lot of those guys played too.
Right.
So yeah, it's just awesome to see when the plan comes together like that.
No, there's no doubt about it. When you have that kind of success, it's the weight room is definitely kids buying into that. It's a key component and the foundational part of everything that you do. What was your program like? What did you guys do program wise that in the weight room that made all the difference? Like, what were some of the things that you guys had throughout the season or throughout the year? To get them to that point from a strength and conditioning standpoint?
Yeah, I think, I really, it goes back to my playing days where, believe it or not, I played quarterback in high school and then fullback in college. And, fullback is a thankless job, but, you got to do the dirty work. And for me, I loved playing football. I loved the grind. I love the off season. I love the lifting. So really what I did, and everyone, a lot of guys know this, is the strongest guys in the room are the most consistent guys.
Yep.
It's getting to the room. So one thing that I did in the program for the weight room is every day I took attendance.
Yep.
Now
we do the same thing.
Yeah. And you're not,
and they don't know it. Like we don't, you know what I mean? Like it's not one of these things that we have a board and you stamp every day you're there. Like they sure as hell know that coach knows when you're there and when you're not.
Absolutely.
And that's part of that, going back to holding the accountability thing. And the standard
Absolutely.
is the standard. Look, we're taking attendance in January. We're taking attendance in July.
Yep. Absolutely.
And look, also, like the whole, we held them to, hey, this many days a week, you got 5 days to hit 4, look, they were very much aware that attendance is being taken, dude. And if not, you miss a couple days, like coach is going to find you in the hallway. Right. And he's going to have that conversation, and they soon learn, okay, email's real easy, right? Like email's real easy, coach. Like, hey, I'm not going to be here. I have this. And we're aware of, like, look, we know you're playing other sports. We want you to play other sports.
Absolutely. I was always a big proponent of, if you're playing another sport, go play the other sport. You're excused from weight room. But so you're not allowed to say this, right? You shouldn't say like lifting is mandatory. But I had a saying where it's not mandatory, but get your ass there.
Well,
mine is
that's an important. By the way, and Derek knows this. I hate all the bullshit that administrations try to put on you from that standpoint.
Yeah.
So you're definitely not talking to a guy. I mean, I was in North Jersey. I used to win, quote unquote, in spite of. I mean, so I have a lot of losses on my record because until I got to the point and turned the program around, there would be losses until we got to be really good.
Right.
But I've always been a contrarian. Is like when people would be like, the weight room's not mandatory. I'm like, okay, so you want me to go and tell them it's not mandatory, but playing time isn't mandatory either, right? So
that's what we always used. That was about what I was about to say, Dave.
You don't got to show up one time in the weight room. We also don't have to play you one time either.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's your choice. And they're obviously, the great things about, because me and Derek have had a lot of the innovative speed guys on and stuff, and one of the great things now about strength and conditioning, even more so than even in obviously definitely from when I first started coaching, but even in the last 10 years from like when you were head coach, is that there's so many different things you can do and tools that there are to get them better, which I think is super cool, like really cool. So there's a lot of ways to skin the cat and based off of your philosophy to get to where you want to be. But there's no way around, like, to me, people can say all they want about the weight room doesn't make you a better athlete. Okay, I understand that it's there. It's not like, okay, I deadlift, because they'll point to, well, the strongest guys in the world, power lifters aren't the best football players. That is true.
Right.
But you probably aren't moving the strongest guys in the world, right? So there's different things. So the foundational strength that they develop, okay, will apply to certain parts of football, right?
Yeah.
Yes, running obviously is a huge part of football, and being fast is a huge part of football. But all of these elements contribute to this success. So, where when if you don't get in the weight room, I think that you limit your chance strength-wise to be successful on the field.
Definitely. Yeah.
There's no doubt. Like the first time you get hit, and you really get hit, and this goes for DBs and corners and stuff like that. If they have a foundation in the weight room, they're able to handle that shock of really getting hit, when a wide receiver much better and recover for it much better than a guy who didn't touch the weight room who goes flying, because they lose that confidence. They're like, I can get in the weight room. I'm a little bit weaker than I need to be. I can get back in the weight room and get a little stronger and have a chance for success. But if I'm never in the weight room and I'm just a fast guy and all of a sudden I get tattooed, I might be, I might just have to run the 100-meter dash for the rest of my life. So So, and that's where it does go hand in hand to me. So even though we have on some of these great guys, I apply a lot of the stuff they do with my younger kids, but it's the weight room is still the foundation, because beyond the success weight rooms, their strength and on the field, it's their confidence to play the game. The stronger you are relative to your position you're playing, the more confident you're going to be. And it's not confidence in a sense that, all of a sudden I'm going to be a superstar on the field. It's confidence that when you're in a battle, and you might get beat sometimes in that battle, that you could come back and continue to fight that battle.
So that's an awesome point, Coach, because one of the things that, I said I took attendance, consistency, that was huge. But once we got in there, the doors were shut, the clock was on, and you had to finish. I made them very uncomfortable. And there was no, if one person sat down, that's 20 push-ups. Nobody sits down.
You have to.
No phones are out.
No, absolutely not.
On the board, and they're grind, and it's only 1 hour. I was a big proponent of get them in for 1 hour, then get them out.
I agree.
And I think the other part of that, Coach, that adds to it is you're there. And I'm sure there were assistants there, right? This is not just, hey, we're not at Planet Fitness or Lifetime. We're coming in, the workouts on the board, and you're doing a set, and then you're texted, and you're doing a set, and you're posting this picture. We're in. It's Dave always says it best, right? There are guys that work out, and then there are guys that attack a workout, right? You have to go into that with a mentality
with a purpose.
Absolutely. This isn't just come on in, get it done. No, you're on a clock. It's why to me, we open the weight room twice a day, right? We got a morning group, an afternoon group. And that morning group is always a little different than the afternoon group. One, they're making an effort to get there at 5:30 a.m. in February. This is a long way away, but they already have that, this is what it is. Also, some of those guys are multi-sport guys. So if they have stuff in the afternoon, they're coming in and they're still taking that extra bit of it, right? But they know in the morning, shit, I got to get this done because the bell's going to ring for school and I got to get a shower, right? Exactly. Coach already turned them on because it takes 45 minutes to warm those shits up. And I am also more than happy to do that.
Sure.
As a coach, look, man, you want to come in here and you want to give me that effort at 5:30 in the morning. Look, I'll have fruit ready for you to go or a bar or something. Make them feel like, hey, coach really gives a shit that we're here. Like, we better give him the same effort, right? And that buy-in, I think, and that's a whole nother tangent of like, as an assistant coach, especially as an assistant, for those guys to see you on that level. But for me, I get to now know who they really are outside of being in a helmet and shoulder pads, because everybody when you get on the field is a person, right? Like they get all right, it's football. What are you when you're struggling through that set, when it's cold, or maybe you're sick and you're still like, I got to get a workout, right? Like that's how I know who you really are. And now in the season when shit gets tough, like, all right, that guy might be fast, bro. That guy's like, he's got a little bit of something extra that I've now seen from putting them through those workouts, right? So you timed your workouts, you had it all, like you did that whole,
absolutely.
Right.
And you know what? It's funny is I still get guys today, which that's a whole nother aspect of the relationships that I have with players and coaches that I've coached with. But I'll still have, I talk to players all the time, former players all the time, and they'll say, Coach, I work out all the time. I'm in great shape. I'll never get in the shape that I was in when you were training us.
Right. It's funny you talk about those relationships because Dave was fortunate enough this year, one of his teams when he was at Palisades Park, Leonia, that won a lot of games, they got inducted to the Hall of Fame. They were all Hall of Fame, and so many of those guys, and unbeknownst to him, like he had no idea, they showed up. How many years later, Dave, to that dinner for you, and it was like, holy shit, like it's still relevant.
2014, it was 2014 I was there. So
this last year, I'm like, Dave, like. Yeah, man. Like, you're gonna go back.
They were like, I'm like, all of a sudden I get like text. I'm like, I'm coming to your dinner. I'm like, oh, great. Like, I didn't even, I was like, wow, it's so it was cool. And then they sat at a different table and they came and sat with my family. Like right before I went up, they all came, sat at the table with my family, which was pretty cool. I mean, those are the things that. First of all, you don't expect them as a coach. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like people don't realize, because you see on TV, with the Division I or the NFL, like so much on the coaches. Right. But at the high school level, and even at Division III level, coach, you don't expect, like, that's not really like an expected thing. Like that's a surprising thing because you're coaching, you're hard players, you want them to succeed, you hope that they recognize the lessons that you're teaching them, and but you don't no one gives you feedback, you know what I'm saying? So occasionally you always have one or two kids that are like that will give you that feedback, but a lot of kids who are really appreciative don't give you the feedback. And but when you see it at dinner and they come over and they're telling you, you're like, oh my God, like, I didn't even, you don't realize that you had an impact. And then, I follow those kids, and just like you probably follow a lot of your kids. And I'm always amazed, like, people can say whatever they want about football. And I'm sure other sports, because I've coached other sports and they definitely have team aspects to it. But to me, like football, when the kids see in the long run, it doesn't mean they see it right then and there, but in the long run, when they see, you look up and like so many of your kids that were a part of your program have gone on to do good things. And then you also know other kids that maybe like for me, when I was at a program in the beginning, and those kids struggled and they were learning, like there was a difference in levels in life success. And that was, and it had nothing to do with that the kids didn't try hard, that when we first there, you just didn't have as much talent and they weren't in the program as long, you know what I mean? But the kids who were all the way in your program for 4 years and kind of really got to understand your message and what, I'm amazed at the success of the kids, those now they're men, I guess, but they have. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And with all the X's and O's, I mean, geez, we could all talk about X's and O's all day and have fun with that. And that's why we do what we do. But the real reason it's the relationships.
Yep.
It's the relationships. And, I still talk to, players from when I coached down in South Jersey, like the number of players I coached at Wall, still talk to them today. The Division III, I spent 3 years at the Division III level. They're men, and that's you coach them when they're men. So, a year or two after they're in the workforce, they're applying for jobs, they're putting you down for references.
Yep.
Some of them enter the coaching field. They're asking for input or maybe a little help. That's one thing that I've learned in the past few years. I love helping guys get into the coaching profession.
Yep.
And just helping them and guiding them along the way. But it comes back to, it's all about the relationships. And when there's that strong bond, it's a lifetime. It really is. It's a lifetime.
No doubt. It's interesting you bring up the point about a lot more guys getting into coaching, which I think is really cool, that because of the financial success of football, as far as at the highest level, NFL, Division I, there are so many more, like for all the people that go and, the talking heads that say, oh, it's crazy that there's money in it. And even coaches that say, I think about it like, hey, there's a lot of guys that played football, okay, that really they wanted to be involved in football. And 25 years ago or 20 years ago, those were limited financial opportunity. You really had to become truly the best to make it a financial success.
Yep.
Nowadays, everybody's trying to be the best, but you could be a cog in the system and have a career in coaching, which I think is really cool. Like you could be a coach, you could be an off the field person. It depends on what your personality. Everybody, just because we all played the game, doesn't mean that every person wants to be a coach, right? They may want to be an analyst. They may want to be an ops guy. They may want to be in marketing in football, right? And I think that that's one of the great things that the financial success of football as an industry has created for a lot of players. Really, the generation behind me, maybe like Derek's generation below, have really started to reap the benefits from it. And you even see old guys like older guys like yourself, or if you want to go and coach in college, listen, in the old days, you couldn't do that in your 40s. You couldn't do that in your 50s. Right. Now you can. Now you can jump in. There are retired guys that go and coach in college in their 70s. And I think that that's a tribute to, as much as people complain about all these different things within football and how it's a business, the truth is, because it's become such a successful business, it's created opportunities for people who love being around football, which would have never. Most people would just have to go be a high school teacher and a coach, because that would be your best opportunity.
That was the only route
to make financial success. Right.
And now you see,
that's a great way to do it.
Hell no, absolutely. But now you see
that would be the only way. In the old days, that was the only way to make a living. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. You need to be absolutely. And guys would say, and now you see a lot of this, like, I have players literally on my team right now who are seniors, who are free Division III guys, but it's like, coach, I know I want to be a teacher and a coach. Hey, man, you can go to college now and you go be a student assistant for 4 years or whatever you're doing while going to school. Like, buddy, your next step might be above the Division III school that you're getting into doing that. Or you might look with the expansion of staffs, right? Like doing, like Dave said, so many different things. I mean, you could be a financial guy and go GM from the jump. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's not only in the NFL. Like, you can now.
I played at UConn. Where I played at UConn, and we're pretty good now again, but we're not like the top of the top. They have 40 plus staffers, just between coaches that are involved in football, and it's unbelievable. Like, if you go to a practice, there's a person there's as
Oh,
many
God.
people out there as there are players. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Go to a Rutgers spring practice, and you're looking
There's
at
as many
like
people out there as players.
Yep.
every position group has
Right.
the coach, right? The DB coach, for example, an assistant DB coach, 2 trainers. Then they have a film guy, 2 equipment guys. Like everybody has a role. So the logistics of just putting that all together, but also like, hey, I played high school football. I'm not a Division I guy, but I could part of Rutgers football. Like I'm still on that bus. You know what I'm saying? Like those roles, so cool. And that people are now tracking that way. When back in the day, it was you're a coach or bust, or, you know, hey, we only take 3 GAs per staff, and like those are really hard to get. Like you work your analyst, assistant to this. Like there's just all of those roles now. Even within high school, I look for managers nonstop. Like, hey, you want to fly the drone and film practice every day because you're a media guy, like, and want to be a part of this? And, you know, another part of like culture within your team, you tell your guys, like, look, they're part of the staff. They're not right? So like this is how it works. And then it creates a level of that where your players understand the respect for other people other than, you know, just coaches or older. It's just a whole thing within the game itself that's expanded. That is such a bonus. And Dave and I attest to it all the time. Like it's great to see roles within the game expand so that everybody can be
and I loved my experience in Division III. Like those 3 years,
man.
Division III is just different. And I played it. And you're getting guys that there's no NIL. There's no, you know, there may be, you know, I do have one, you know, a couple guys doing some arena league stuff and, you know, working that circuit and doing awesome with it. But, you know, it
ain't the same.
Few and far between. The guys that are playing Division III, man, like they absolutely love the game. And it was just, that was one of my best experiences. And, you know, I thought I was a pretty good coach when I left Wall. You know, we had that success, and I went to the Division III level, and I realized, you know, I had a lot to learn. And that's something, that's just me, you know, personally, I'm always looking to learn and improve. And I don't know everything, and I'm far from it. And I'm far from the coach where I want to be, but that experience in college was priceless because, you know, you were working with, you know, full-time coaches, which is a little bit different. And it's a full-time job, you know, and it was just an awesome experience. I feel like I made, you know, I worked my 3 years in college. I was on the defensive side of the ball. I'm an offensive guy, you know, I feel like I'm an offensive guy with the defense mentality.
Absolutely. I think most of the line guys usually are. And honestly, like having played for Coach G and playing at Montclair State, like living that life, having been at Sacred Heart, transferring to Montclair State, like, but just knowing how Coach G always did that was the big thing for him. Is guys that were offensive guys went to defense, right? Like that was the first thing that he did. And then eventually you worked your way up to going back to, you know, look, if you played quarterback, you went and DBs, and then after a year or two, all right, now you go back. But just that perspective, it's what honestly helped me as a coach, especially as a young coach, always being a defensive back. But and then, you know, now coaching offense, it just was so beneficial. And, you know, I watched the Division III coaches, you know, we didn't start practice till 3:30. Why? Because half the coaching staff was coming from their teaching job in high school to get to practice, right? Like if you needed something, your position coach, you could only hit him up at a certain time because that was lunch. That was his prep period. You had to go to the head coach, or you had to go to the offensive coordinator, because those were the only full-time guys. Like it's you're not sitting there like a Power 5. You could walk into that guy's office at any time. Like those guys literally grinded, and I watched the amount of time. And then when we got a hold of their salaries, it was like, holy shit. You guys are doing this for free. Like for the amount of time you guys are sleeping in the office. 100%. I mean, you got more. Your parking tickets are more than your stipend. Like, this is what we're, like, it was a different beast. And you watch guys like Danny Garrett, who's done it for so long, and is like, he's told me so many times, like, I wouldn't have it any other way, because he's, I'm sure, been approached to be, hey, you want to come here or you want to go? Absolutely. Nope, I love where I'm at. It's a different beast altogether. And a lot of the D3 guys that we get on here, they all say the same thing, because they all get opportunities to go up or bounce around or could move. And now that's, for some, that's what they want to do, right?
Yeah.
You see like the guy at Cortland and now at Colgate, right? Like, that's their path, right? But like, the D3 world is just, it's just different, from coaches to players to the whole recruiting is different, right? The rules are different. I mean,
and you mentioned like Danny Garrett and Mike Palazzo and all
those are D3 guys.
Those are D3 guys, but I don't think we realize, like, I played in Pennsylvania at Del Val, but New Jersey has awesome high school football, and we never really, on a national scale, we never really got the credit for it. Because they always go to Texas and Florida and California, the big states, and down south it's just a little bit different. I get all that.
Seen them all.
Yeah, but New Jersey.
And we talk about that too, the geographical, like, state-wise, who's where, and you go here for these players and all that other kind of stuff. Like,
exactly.
It's just part of it.
One thing that, I don't think high school players realize is how good the Division III level is in the state of New Jersey. There are 5 schools at the Division III level in the state of New Jersey that are, state schools, all state schools, very good education. There are a lot of teachers, but there's a lot of business. There's some engineering at certain schools, and you play really competitive football in the NJAC. And
it's tough.
It's tough. It's an absolute battle every week.
Every week.
And every week.
And that's what I Dave has seen it like a lot more so now with like our 7-on-7 club, or just the guys that we're putting at different places, and having obviously me being a D3 guy, right? Like, just like I tell guys all the time, I played with way better players at Montclair State than I did at Sacred Heart. And you're talking an FCS program, like now they're like the whole kit and caboodle. And also, what separates Jersey from those is, like, Division III, you go down south, there isn't Division III.
There's no Division III.
It's 1A or bust. You go to Ohio, there's 5 1A schools. You go to Texas, how many 1A? We have Rutgers, Monmouth at Division III.
Exactly.
That's what, and the Northeast is built like that, right? There's a lot of Division III programs that are really freaking good.
Yeah.
And now with the transfer portal and NIL and roster limits, those guys are now trickling down. And look, it used to be, if you bounced back to a division because you either screwed up or you like wanted to come home, and that was kind of it. And look, that's fine too, right? Like that, there's a place for everybody. But now you see guys going D3 with the mentality of, I'm going to go here for 2 years, dominate, and then I'm going up. Right. Then I'm transferring somewhere else. And some of those coaches are more than happy to have that, because they're still getting a kid for 2 years that's playing at the highest of high levels because he's pissed he didn't get his offer.
Right.
That's what we see. We see a lot of that, obviously, with the guys we talk to, with the guys we coach. The mentality within football has shifted from like, you know what I mean? Like, and with no penalty to sit, like, you don't have to sit. You're just go, man. And it's like awesome. I want that. It's just, it's really different, because I think the Division III player, like you said, they play for a love of the game. And maybe they're a little undersized, or maybe they screwed up their freshman year of high school. They were still like that immature kid. And now it's a learning experience though. Like, hey, just because you made those mistakes, there's still an opportunity for you somewhere to go and do what you love and take that track. So I think I'm glad we have it like we do at the level we do here in the Northeast and at Jersey, because a lot of those other guys, it's 1A or bust or some of those things. You'd like to see Rutgers do a little better, right? But Monmouth has been an animal in the last couple of years. I mean, look, probably one of your best players you ever coached is a captain this year on that team, and he's an animal, and he's been playing since he's a freshman there.
I love it. I love to see, and that's the stuff. And as soon as I saw that, and saw Charlie was a captain, I texted him right away, and no inspirational speech, nothing like that. It's just that bond that Charlie and I have, and I just sent it out to him. Said, "Hey, man, I'm just proud of you." I don't need to tell him what to do. He knows what to do. He knew what to do when he was a freshman in high school.
And he knew what he did, and he knew when he walked in that building as a freshman, like what he needed to do as well, right? You know what I mean? Like sometimes you just have those players, and I think those are one thing that I really didn't understand when I was a young coach, because I just thought you were supposed to win every year, right? Like that's how the high school program I was in, like college, like we won a lot. Like I just thought winning was like what was supposed to be done, and you learn real fast as a high school coach that's winning is really hard, regardless of a game is really hard to win, and there's so much that goes into that, and for the expectation, you're standards high and all those things, but I think the expectations have to kind of fit it. And for me, it was always like, hey, win state championship, you know what I mean? Like that's the bare minimum. Just getting in the playoffs for some guys, right, that haven't been around a winning culture is like a huge thing. Whereas I was always like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, we're supposed to be here. It's had to shift for me as a coach, right? Because the kids are like, coach, like this is great, and I'm like, now I kind of savor those things and understand that every win is something. But when you have those really good runs, those are difference makers. And you can, coach, I have a question, because we talk about this all the time. A good football season creates a great school year.
100%,
agree or disagree,
coach. Okay. I agree 100%. And Dan talks about it with the Donovan guys all the time. Like, we set the tone for athletics, for the school year, for incoming freshmen, for everything. And that's just not Donovan. That's every school, every high school. I'm at Mid-South right now, and unfortunately they didn't win last week. So, I see it. You feel it. Like you feel the temperature of the building is different on a Monday when you're coming off a win or you're coming off a loss. Like it just is what it is, man. Yeah. And one thing that I learned with, it was Wall was such a great learning experience because we had success. And, one thing you have to do with the culture is you have to get them to that point. You have to get them to the mountaintop. Well, one of the hardest things to do is stay at the mountaintop. And,
sustainable winning is tough.
People say, oh, I hate Nick Saban. I don't like Nick Saban because all he does is win. I love Nick Saban because not only did he win, he won for decades. And, that's such a valuable lesson. And, we came in after we lost last week to Kingsway, and, I wrote on the board 1-0 mindset. And they were like, Coach, we're 0-1. And I said, I don't care about that. I said, I want to be 1-0 this week. And no matter what happens tomorrow night in our game, I'm going to write the same thing on the board, 1-0 mindset. It's not as fun for a high school kid. They want to read the articles. They want to make the posts. But, guys, you got to put the blinders on, and you got to prepare, focus and preparation. That's what it's all about. And when we're focused and when we prepare, guys, just go 1-0. Just go 1-0. We never try to talk about winning. You try to talk about what are you doing that day? What are you doing that day to improve yourself, improve the team? And that I got all that from the run at Wall. Just not looking ahead, not trying to figure out who we're going to play in the championship. No, who cares? What about today?
Exactly it. I mean, that's exactly it. That's the thing I love. There's obviously there's so many great videos.
Yeah.
Like regurgitated with Nick Saban. That's probably in your feed and Darren's feed and my feed since Kalen DeBoer has been struggling at Alabama. And but
that poor guy, man.
What I take from it is, whether Kalen DeBoer is the right fit there or not is really less of the issue than what I take is that Nick Saban purely and simply understood. Now, obviously, he was able to recruit great athletes. We all understand that.
Yeah.
But purely understood better than anybody in college football history what it takes to get the most out of the athletes that you have.
Definitely.
That's what he understood. Now, he probably, in my opinion, left football because he was – not that he could have done it in this era. I just think that he may have felt like at his age – did he want to take on this new style that he would have to relearn? It's different at 70, mid-70s than it would be at 50 even, right?
Sure.
So do you want to take that on and go through that whole process? And then, you're older now. Do you want to be doing that into your mid-80s? Because it could take you some time, right, to figure it all out. So, but do I think he would have been able to do it? Absolutely. Like he would have been able to do it. Nobody's going to win. Very few people are going to win as consistently as he was able to win championships because obviously I could just pay another guy more and that could change the dynamic of winning. Yeah. But as far as the way that he went about the process, the how he drove the kids, like the thing that I think gets lost a little bit now is that there's 100% a balance to it, a give and a push to when you ride a kid, you got to know how to love them up. And obviously it's always more fun to put on, social media for the viewers when the guy's on somebody. Right. But there's that post, his ability to be on somebody and then to talk to them about how they can become better and show them that he cares about them. And that part allows you to drive more, which is what he was able to do. They just show videos of him driving more. They don't show videos.
That's the videos they show, right? Dave is him at the podium and like hammering. Yeah, that's it. It's all about clicks for the most part, right? Like, look, that's why I kind of love like Cam Newton because he is so like they call him outspoken or whatever. Like he just speaks truth and like. Good, bad, indifferent, like me, hate me, whatever it is, like it comes out and he's cool with it. Like it is what it is, right? Like, but a lot of these guys you can see they go a certain way for clicks. And that's kind of like, I hate that.
Yeah. The one,
I guess it's just part of the business.
Yeah. The one quote, again, a lot of coach speak, but I love it. And my old high school coach told me this, and you want to be demanding, but never demeaning. And which means we're gonna get on some guys, because we expect.
I'm gonna get after your ass, like man, that's part of it.
Yeah, we expect that standard. We're gonna get on you, but guess what? After that practice or after that play, I'm gonna be the first one. First one, put my arm around you and say, "Hey, man, I love you." If I'm not doing this, that's a problem.
Absolutely. Well, that's why I tell them all the time. If I'm not talking to you, then get nervous, right? Like if I'm not coaching you, get nervous. Why is coach like? And look, if you also come to say, "Hey, I want to play college football," I'm going to coach you a little different than a guy that's like done after this year and just wants to put on the helmet, man. Like I'm trying to prepare you to be as successful as it is, and everybody's treated equal, but not everybody's treated the same, right? Like it's kind of that. It is what it is. If you've shown me you can do some things, all right, well, okay then. But if you're another guy that's like, I'm all constant, like
everybody's treated fairly. You're treating everybody fair. but not everybody's treated equally is what I think you meant, right?
100%.
There's no such thing as equality in sports. There are just like there are different ways I push different people. You're going to push different people as a coach. There are also different talent levels. Like, this kid over here can run really fast, and this kid over here is a lineman is going to be blocking people, and so how I treat this person, what I expect from them might be different than what I expect from this person.
Absolutely.
We have common goals as a team. We have a standard. You talk about that a lot, the standard, right? But there's a standard that we all have that we need to be attained to. But how I go about getting people to that standard, it might be different from this person and that person. And that's the beauty of football. Like, that's to me is just the flat out beauty of football. It's hard for parents sometimes to understand it if they didn't play. And, because everybody, like me and Derek talk about this a lot, like a lot of people play sports now. When I was going through high school, like a lot of kids went and worked, in the mechanic shop if they really realized they weren't as good a football player as these 15 guys. Like, that's not how it is now. Everybody plays sports, We could use some more mechanic. We could use some more mechanics,
exactly.
Today. I mean, but and I thought that was one of the nice things, like, about how sports filtered it out back then, was like, hey man, you know what? Like, I'm good with my hands. I'm not as good at running the ball. Maybe I should go work on a skill that I'm going to be really good at.
Yeah, go to the construction site, be the mechanic. Yeah, exactly.
There was nothing wrong with that. I thought that was a great thing. I thought that was a fabulous thing.
I have a lot nowadays, of that where I'm at.
Yeah. Well, nowadays, a lot of guys want, like, because sports has been such a positive thing for a lot of people. Everybody wants their kids in sports. And sometimes kids are playing in a sport or a sport that may not really be a great. Maybe there's another sport for them, or maybe there's another task. Listen, I say this to my own son. I'm like, listen, and he plays a lot of sports and he's good. And I say, sometimes when he's having a hard day and he's young, he's a young kid and he doesn't want to, maybe doesn't want to do something that he doesn't feel like doing it that day. I always say, like, sports are hard, dude. Like, if you told me you wanted to be the best chess player in the world, I'll support you to be the best chess player in the world. But that's not going to be easy. It's going to be a different type of hard. Like, you're going to be sitting in front of a chessboard all the time, looking at those damn pieces, right? Yeah. So you got to choose what hard you want. You know what I mean? So, and that's an important thing. I think that kids and parents have to understand that, like, it's like, hey, you know what? If my kid's not a really good athlete, but he's smart, you better be working your damnedest to be the very best student you possibly can be. That's going to be your number one road to success. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's athletics and sports. Right. Maybe you are going to be a guy who builds cars. And you know what? Yeah. You're going to have to work hard at that too. Yeah. You want to be good at that? You're going to have to work hard at that too. And I think that is what football, I think, tries to teach better than any other sport, because there are so many different roles on the team. Right. Like, you know what I mean? There are guys
O-line, right? Like, O-line is a great example.
Yes, great example. Exactly.
They're the number one example. They're the number one example.
And one I got to shout him out, Coach Edwards from TCNJ, and he presented this to our defense last year, and it's be a star in your role. You know, whether you are the quarterback, you are the leading tackler, or you're the fourth string defensive tackle that gets 0 reps in practice, but you know what? You're on the scout team. Be a star in your role. Learn what your role is and be a star in it. So no matter what you're doing in anything in life, be a star in your role.
Coach, Coach, that's awesome. I know you got to run because you got to get to a class. So, Coach, appreciate you taking the time, man. Like I said, we were introduced to each other working the All-Star, the All-Shore game. Yeah. I just loved it. I felt the juice right away. This is a guy I could roll with. I would love to coach with this guy. You know what I mean? And so I appreciate you taking the time, man. Get back in the winning track this week. You know what I'm saying? There's no doubt that I'm sure you guys will all get it together. And just again, appreciate you taking the time, man. It's been awesome talking to you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I really do. I really appreciate the time, having me on and then just talking ball. I mean, I wish I didn't have a class coming in because I could talk a lot longer.
I wanted to get to play. I wanted to get to never got a chance to, but that's okay. We get you out again and talk some more.
I was going to say, get 100%. Me on again, and then I'll have a whiteboard right here. And we'll start drawing some stuff up.
Oh, I mean, look, we do it. We'll do it. That'd be awesome, Coach. Appreciate you, man. Good luck with everything. We'll talk to you.
Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right. Bye. That was great. That was a lot of fun.
I know. We didn't even get into the X's and O's, man. Because
no, it was funny because I wrote down on a piece of paper, and I have it sitting right next to me, that I was like, ask him some O-line questions because I knew that we were gonna get into and I didn't even really get into it, but we could have him back and talk to him. That's I literally wrote it down, like ask him some O-line.
He literally, and I didn't even you know what I mean? Because so many of these guys, it's like, all right. And he literally texted me last Thursday. I was like, hey, good luck. I'm like, oh shit, good luck. And then we were back and forth this weekend. And I'm like, dude, why don't I just get him on the podcast? What the hell am I doing? You know what I mean? He's got head coaching experience, Division III experience, O-line play. I know we'll love talking O-line stuff. Right? So, and you listen, we didn't talk about it, but kind of got a little bit of a raw deal when it came to Wall because he definitely had that thing rolling and going and all that other kind of stuff.
I figured he would have brought it up if he wanted to talk about it. You know what I mean? I don't want to.
And we talked about it, and I told him hey, it's an open platform. You know what I mean?
I've been there, so
I've been on. But he, I think, I mean, it's hard when that stuff gets attached to your name, right? There were some that were opened, and for him personally, didn't even get a call back, right? And those schools just missed out on a great whatever it was because you wanted to just attach nonsense to it.
It happened to the Sayreville coach who was a legend too, and that was much worse actually at the time. But yeah, it was not, that guy was a legend. It was a great coach, great guy too.
But you kind of look at those situations too, though, Dave, and for him personally, and I don't speak for him, but that could have been a blessing, right? Because he got to now go and do 3 years Division III, and those experiences, learning all that shit. Now he comes back. It's only going to make him a better head coach the next time around. You know what I mean? And look, listen, as a head guy, look, he's, you know what I mean? He's one of those guys as a head coach, he's like a Dan Campbell. I ain't fucking messing with this guy. You know what I'm saying? He can hold his own. So he got into the weight room. The weight room made us what we are. I'm like, oh shit. No wonder. Yeah, I get, and that kid that he had, man, Sasso, who's now the head
stud
captain at Monmouth. Unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable. But remember, those were our, when we came into the Shore, it was Wall was number one. They were most recently, they were the Toms River north of now. Nobody would, they were beating parochials. I mean, number one in the state as a public, dude. That's not something that happens in Jersey, very often. It used to, right? And by used to, I mean, your era where, your Hackensacks or your whoever's of those world. But if I bet you since 2000, maybe Mid-South was the last public school team to be a number one in the state overall.
I think
right. So you look at that. I mean, there is not many public schools that get that nod, just based off of it. So kudos to him, man. Because, I don't know, when Wall's good, I think the Shore is better. And obviously for me, we haven't been in it that long, but when those public schools are really, really freaking good, that changes the dynamic, I think, of everything. And he had a good thing rolling, but Donovan is fortunate to have that guy on staff because, you know what I mean? And having worked with Coach Curcione before, I can only imagine what that place is like when you're, you know what I mean? They're going to be, they'll get it together, dude. They'll get it together.
I got to tell you is so interesting. As it's shaking out, I thought it was this way, but now that kids are getting older in my son's group and the group behind them, it's starting to shake, at least in Middletown. I'm sure other towns too. I don't know, because I don't know every town's movement as far as people moving into the town dynamics.
Right
now, Wall has now become one of the biggest places. Now is become one of the biggest.
It's one of the biggest to move. Middletown, Wall, like those are the places that
Wall's becoming bigger than Middletown now because there's no building. We're not building in Middletown anymore.
Just saw.
So
yeah, I literally just saw like a poll or something. I don't even know what it was. It just popped up, and it was like, hey, top places to move to in New Jersey, and was at the top of that list, dude. And
I think Wall was
saying? Like,
I think Wall's
right.
one.
I mean, I'm like, ooh, okay, I get it. I mean, look,
it has to do with like there isn't a lot of available real estate in certain we had
it's
some
getting like North Jersey
now.
where there's but like North Jersey where there's nowhere to like build something to bring people in. Like
they're building
now
Wall, I think so
because they have place like to build. Like I know they just like I think they just approved like a bunch of new like housing complexes or like it's not like North Jersey building on top of each other. Like there's nowhere to build in Union City. Like, what I'm saying? Like there's nowhere to build in Bergen County. Like there's just not land.
Where now they're running out of space in the Middletown area. Obviously there's none in Rumson. There's none in Fairhaven, basically. There's very little in Little Silver, very little. So now you're moving a little bit farther down. Brick, where you all down by you, there's not that much either, right, anymore.
Because they're now going from like where I am, and they're going like south, like they're going to like Manahawkin, Barnegat, like down past Lacey. It keeps moving down the state. You know what I mean? Like where Warren just went to Absegami, right? Like that's a big. You know what I mean? So, like even my cousin just from River down to
Warren is like a great place. Like
great spot.
The Galloway is
like
where
Egg Harbor area, all of that. Like out like a little
that
north
area.
Of Atlantic
There's a lot of area to build, but there's also Galloway, which is a little bit north of Atlantic City. There's some really nice areas too. So they have like a really nice mix of things in that school. Like if I think he's going to do really well there, but because I think that's going to continue to be a growing area. So what I was saying was that like when I see the list of how many kids are trying out for our Mid-South basketball in our A2 age groups, it's insane how many kids try out, and because of there's so many more kids in those two age groups because a lot of people moved in COVID and that COVID time period into Middletown.
Oh yeah,
that was like the big move, and we were already here actually, but a lot of people moved at that time. And
that was when we saw it. Like you were like one of. You were the first. You were like the first of that movement, right? Like COVID, right? And then COVID, where everybody said, "Wait, I have two houses. I don't have to go to the office anymore. Why am I paying for this up north and this over here? Or why am I an island when I could be here? I don't have to commute to the city anymore. I'm remote." Everybody just moved. Now that's all getting filled up. People just have to keep going south. And obviously with the way the market is, right? Like, because the market goes and flows, like that's how that works. So you're just seeing it. It's why we talk about South Jersey football getting so much better because there's
what happened
public
Philly.
schools.
Philly people moved out into
they moved to Jersey across 100%.
Yep.
And we talk about it, right? Like there's regional schools where a lot of towns go to one school and they're big. It's big. And then you still have your little like pockets of group 1 schools that are really freaking good. Like we just played Woodbury, Glassboro, right? Like things like outside of Rowan. Like, dude, they're really freaking good because that's the option for the kids. There's not that Don Bosco within 6 miles of each other. You don't have that. Right. So you stay home and you go to those schools and they're really friggin' good, dude. Like it is what it is. And it's good for Jersey football overall. Right. Like we talked about, that win that Bergen Catholic just had over East St. Louis. Like that's a national win over a really good team from out west, like, from the Midwest, like Bosco going down to Texas and winning the first ever game where a Jersey team played at Texas. Like, even though we may not be a top 5 overall in the country when it comes to high school football, we're still in it, and we still are.
Our
you know what I mean? Like, we're still
really,
on the
really good.
Correct. Yes, I do think, honestly, collectively, if you took like even our like middle of the road group 1, group 2, group 3, they went and played a school the same type of size in most states, I still think we play very well. Right? Like, I still think we can go out there and compete. Like, even the perennial powerhouses, I still think we can go and play ball. I think overall the state itself has really good football, whereas some states, I think it's either all at the top and then the huge gap, where I don't think there's that gap here.
Yeah, not until you get to the lowest of levels, I would say. But
right.
But yeah, but I would say, yeah, overall, I agree. It's especially,
and you've seen it, right? Like, of course, but you saw, like, you have really been in since the parochials really took over the state, right? Like, you've been coaching through that whole process, and even like in Bergen County, you saw like Bosco never used to be a powerhouse.
Some of my best showcases ever were actually some of the North Jersey events, but so there is a depth of talent, but the
tri-state area.
What you in Texas, for example, the population is so big, okay, and football is so prominent. There are so many kids that are really good because the population is probably like 50 million or something, or 40 million, right? So there's so many people, and football's so big, so there's so many good football players as like as a collective amount of people, and obviously they have a history, but there's a collective amount of people that are really good. What I would say, like the rest of the country, like obviously Florida is similar in that aspect too, different skill sets,
of course.
But the South, like when you get to the smaller southern states, what is so unique is the level of athleticism.
Oh my God!
That a higher number of individuals have. That's the only way I can explain it. Like
Mike says it the best in South Florida. Mike has always said that the best, right? Like, he's always talked about that. He's like, Derek, like, you just don't understand. Like, the best corner on my roster is still, like, if he comes to Jersey, he's the number 1. Like, that's just
Jabril.
You know what I'm saying?
Jabril went somewhere else, he would be the best. And like if Jabril was in Texas, they'd be like, he's one of the best players in Texas, right?
Absolutely.
Okay? But what it is they might have like 10 Jabrils talent-wise.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So he
Absolutely.
would still be an All-American. He'd be one of the best guys. But they would have 10 guys. He would just be one of.
Right.
They would have 10 guys that have that skill set.
Absolutely.
Now, maybe he's a better player than they are, but 10 guys with that skill set, where New Jersey, he would stand out as the number 1.
The guy, the human being, right? Like you know, your Rashawn Garys of the world, like where they just stand out irregardless of right. Now, those guys were one of what, whereas you
similar to
now
them.
they're right. They're just, it's just different. It's just different. And
that's
like you said,
the same thing with California. It's just because the population, like that's why Jersey is a good state football wise, because our population isn't that big. But like when you go and you say,
but we have a lot of people in a small area,
and we don't have a lot of people playing football, so people don't realize that. Like, you know, for the amount of people that play football.
Oh yeah. Like the bang for the buck.
Louisiana, everybody plays football. Everybody.
Yeah.
So now, even though they're not,
and
as
I
big
think
as
the other
state,
thing too is, like, if you look, to me, it would be like those guys in those weather states are football year round. Whereas here in Jersey, the best football player, he might also be the best wrestler, the best basketball player, right? Like, have a lot more seasonal athletes because of just our weather situation. You know what I'm saying?
The weather is the hugest aspect because, okay, so obviously you go outside and train for free in the South. But the other thing is this. I want to get a facility. A 2,000 square foot facility. I'm paying $5 a square foot. So I'm paying very little. Okay. So there's a maximum you can charge people no matter what. Okay. So if I'm of course, I'm using Louisiana. I'll use Texas as an example. You can find a place for $5 a square foot, $6 a square foot. Okay. In a warehouse and roll out your facility. Okay. And train a number of kids there. And let's say you're charging, I don't know, let's say you're charging $30 a session, okay, for your group. You can't charge much more than for that in New Jersey, but you're paying 5 times the amount for the facility. It's hard to make it work.
That's it, 100%. And how many, quote, successful guys have seen have facilities and then close facilities? I mean, they're still okay, but it's just, dude, it's just not a it's a hard that new play. 100%. And we have a new place coming in Brick.
Go to Nashville, right? Why is Cool's not coming to North Jersey to open a facility? He's going to Nashville where he can find a place. There's a lot of people that want to train, and it's cheap.
And that's the other part. There's a lot of athletes that want to do that area, right? Like, I'm curious. I'm very curious to see how this new Superdome coming down here to Brick, how they work this thing and how it works and how it. Now, you know how that is, right? You get those indoor spaces, like they got to be filled, like irregardless. You got to just where it is, you got to fill it, and you got to look. We see it with facilities we use, or I mean, look, we watch a facility go from a quote unquote top and then flip over and be like, oh, you guys can do whatever you want in here, to like softball games, showcases, flag football, right? Like you just fill the space with time and people and things to do and birthday parties and this and that. And before long, like you can't be focused in on, hey, we only train or we only do. You have to do
everything.
You can't have that niche. Look, the Superdome does everything, and that's Bergen County. You know what I mean?
I think if you want to be great, like if you want to make great football players or great sprinters or great baseball players, baseball you're able to do it a lot better in New Jersey because they're able to charge a little more, right? And because I bring my kid to baseball facilities, they have a good system of how they do it, like but they probably have people spending a little bit more, right? But if you're in a sport like lacrosse has a hard time too with facilities because
absolutely
you need more space to do what you're doing. There's not like so football has a similar issue, and the problem is that like you really want that specificity. You want to get good at this skill, and you really would like to do it like at least 3 days a week, but the amount of money you would have to spend to go 3 days a week, like it doesn't warrant it. Whereas basketball, it does, because you can find plenty of basketball courts, and I can find a place I could spend $20 a session every day, every single day of the week, 7 days, round the clock, and you could just show up at a place, and there's 30 basketball players, 40 basketball players. I mean, how many? You could do one guy coaching 30 guys, teaching them to dribble, you know what I'm saying? Like to shoot, now do they all get to be the same level as when you work on a one-on-one? No. But you're able to do that in basketball. Football, if you were to do that, you need a lot more space. You can't just do it in one gym. You know what I'm saying? So that becomes more and more the issue. Like how you're running routes with 30 people, like it takes up space. So, and that takes time. And then, so I think that's the advantage the South has, right? You just go outside, and we could do that when it comes to the spring, but you're
right, because I can't tell you how for how long Mike Smith trained guys in parks and just said, meet here and we're going to do this. And it was fucking Christmas Eve, dude. Like, let's go run. What, you know what I mean? Like here, it's hard. It's difficult. It's another hoop to jump through. You know what I mean? But I think too, the other thing, and Mike's attested to, the level of coaching in the Northeast is different than other places. I think the cerebral aspect of
I think it's very good. Yeah.
Coaching and ball up here, I think is different. You know, you go down south and you have a lot of like former NFL guys or high level college guys that just think, hey, I played, I can go back and coach. Totally different, right? Like Coach just said it on the show. You got to be a great teacher to be a great teacher, right? And I think up here we have really, really good teachers of the game itself. The coaching level, I think, here is now, look, I've never been anywhere else, but every person that I've ever talked to that has relocated to another state and coached somewhere else, they always attest to that. The coaching in Jersey is different. It's hot. Everything is, for the most part, a very high level, even though I think you've seen it maybe deteriorate a little bit.
Really Texas is really good because
absolutely. And look, and we talked to some of those guys. I think
the reason why New Jersey is good is because they can get a full-time teaching job. So
that too.
Whereas other states, like now you see it in Texas. Obviously, Texas does, Georgia does, South Carolina does, a few other states do. So you probably would see states like Iowa has very good football coaching for the same reason, right? But that New Jersey would, but other states do not have that, and so I think then you just a lot of times they don't see a career path, right? I think when you see a career path,
correct.
You can
which is what we talked about today, right? Like there's many other outlets within football now where you can have a career. It's not just, hey, it's something to do 2 years after I graduated college because I don't really know anything else.
That's what happens. Yep.
Go deliver pizza. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'll just stay in the game. But now you can literally come out and say, hey man, I've been a video guy for 3 years of high school. You know, I fly drone through a freaking obstacle course, right? Like, or hey, I can get your social media on a whole different level. Or hey, I know how to budget a rock. Give me the amount of money. Here's how you distribute it to players. Or, you know, even the sports psychology world and, you know, the nutrition bit. Like, look at Wendy, man. Like, that's amazing. Now she's not attached to a team, but like that, like the things she's doing and doing awesome. Within that world, just, I mean, look, there was always the athletic trainer route, right? But that was really kind of just like almost doctorate, a lot of work, right? A lot of hours, all those kind of things. Like, dude, equipment managers. Shit, if I could go back, dude, I will hand out helmets for the New York Giants advisors every day for practice. Like, if I could do that for a living, let's go, right? Like, those things are so pivotal. And now with the amount of money that the game, I mean, we're talking about the NFL, like revenue being $1 billion, like, and you're talking about like teams wise with staffers all over. Man, there are so many career paths that you can take that can link to sports in general. Like, it's just, it's just a whole different world. And we've seen it change pretty quick, man. You know, like in my eyes, you think about the last 2 years, I think it's probably like, you know, I've heard people compare it to like when the forward pass came. That's how much the game is like, but it's not the X's and O's of it. It's the off the field part of the game that some of these things now that guys didn't think were important or culture or any of that stuff are now some of the most pivotal pieces, right? Like the X's and O's are always going to be there. There's always going to be some innovative or something new or all that. It's recovery. It's the ice baths. It's the like helmets, right? Like it's those things that have now just changed and have become part of like, that's something you got to pay attention to, right? Like when a coach ran you into the ground, that was just part of like football. Now, hey, you got to think about that and then have the aspect of them like, hey, how do I help them recover? Like there's a very broader, the game used to be between the lines, helmet and let's run, let's tackle, let's score touchdown. Now it's, hey, we got to recover. Hey, we got to talk about this topic. Hey, we need to make sure we guardians for their heads. Like, dude, there's a lot more to this.
Although I'm not sold on Guardians. So
no, I just use that as an example of like
things like that.
Oh, it's moving forward.
I got my kid the Q collar. So, like, you know what the Q collar?
Oh, awesome! God, yeah, my guys have been using it since I was at SJV, dude. Like, they love it. Whether it's mental, whatever it is.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out whether.
It's the same with like when I'm doing this stuff pregame. Guys are like, Coach, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm warming up my nervous system. I'm good to go. Like, they're like, Coach, you're out of your I'm like, you're out of your mind. I'm like, dude, it works for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that's awesome. Does he like it?
He doesn't feel it really now. This is the first week we've had it. So the first day
takes some like getting used to. It's just like, yeah, because he's like, you know, like. But it's not. It just like a dog. So it does. It's like a little pressure. It works with pressure points, and I believe something with the fluid around the brain in order to prevent it. Like gives the brain more mobility, or you know, where it's not going to smash into the side of your head as much as it would if you didn't have those pressure points like activated, I guess, or something. A lot of research because you know my middle linebacker at SJV wore it. I'm like, dude, what is around your neck? Is that like, what are we doing here? Like, and he's like, Coach, I'm like, oh, that's cool because you know, anything that could help you, right? Especially for a guy that needed every bit of help that you could, and you needed every bit of it. So, like, good for him. That's awesome, man. Who do you have this week?
Homedale.
Oh, so does Coach Grandinetti. I'm excited to see how they're going to stop freaking a quarterback going to Dartmouth, who looks like a linebacker. The kid is a fucking stud. Like, buddy, holy shit! Like,
do you think he could eventually move out of quarterback, or do you think he'll stay a quarterback?
I don't know. He's been a quarterback his whole life. You know what I mean?
Never played another position.
Now. Never played him at another position. I compare him a lot to the kid.
Nothing on defense or anything?
I don't think he's really even ever that. I think he's a kid that if he wanted to could easily, right? Because he's got that quarterback mentality of like, I'm going to be good at everything I do on and off the field. Going to Dartmouth for no reason, you know what I mean? So he's obviously a smart kid. But I think some of these guys are so programmed into being a quarterback that, you know, they don't look at the broader picture. You know, especially at the next level. And I think there's a couple quarterbacks within the Shore that are going to have to kind of make those decisions, right? The kid Lahara at Brick Memorial, he's like a stud. He's really short, right? Or, right. I mean, even look at like the kid at SJV, LaBarca. Like, dude, we watched him fucking play corner and be like, holy shit, dude. You know, now my kid, you've seen my quarterback, and I told him, I'm like, dude, you might have to play another position at college. And, you know, he don't care. He's like, whatever you want me to. And he plays with literally reckless abandonment. He plays a lot like Cole Freeman did as a quarterback, right? Like you have a linebacker, strong safety kid with that mentality player. It's like, dude, you got to slide or get out of bounds. Coach, I'm not going out of bounds. Please go out of bounds. Like, please go out of bounds. Like, okay. But that's, you know, I got to hold him back from also is my kicker, and he kicks off and he's the first one down the field. I'm like, dude, can you just stay back here and get the tee? Like, come on. Like, but look, you were a hitter guy too, man. Like that's just what you do. So we'll see. I mean, I think Troy's like that.
Yeah, getting there.
I think with Troy it was like a lot of it was like a confidence thing, dude. But now he knows, like, hey, I'm one of the. Yes, the tackling. And look, we talk about Dave. You just spent money to take another course on tackling. Tackling's really fucking hard, dude, and it's not easy, right? And we talk about even playing flag, pulling a flag is really hard, dude. If you can pull a flag, you can tackle somebody, but that stuff's really hard. And I think that's something else too.
He's the greatest flag puller, like he's unbelievable.
But I'm telling you, Dave, I think that's really, really hard too. I don't think as coaches we express how difficult what we're trying to teach.
Trying to get the DBs to understand to tackle the legs. That's the issue.
Oh, why? They want to go high?
They don't. It's not that they want to go high. It's when they get to the point of attack,
they just don't shoot the legs. Eyes through the thighs, man. Eyes through the thighs, near hip, near shoulder, bang. Like, you know what I mean? And tell them, like, man, you got shoulder pads on for a reason. Like,
exactly
those things. And then the other thing too is
high. And what happens is they're getting better at it. So they're getting.
They have
get a running back who has all this momentum. They think they can't tackle because the running back all this momentum,
and a lot of the guys do, like when they were young, right? They just like left their feet, right? So I see the problem with my guys is on contact. One, they like lunge, kind of already at a disadvantage, but you have to I tell my guys that, like, hey, it's got to be like 5 steps after contact. Run through him, not stop when you get to him. Keep your feet going. And now, rather than when we make contact, we both just fall down. Now when we contact, like, it's -1 for him, -2 for him, right? Like, he's got to fall backwards. Like, that's why the feet running on contact, it's really hard, because when you hit something, your brain tells you to stop, right? Like, that's the first thing it tells you to do. So train your head to be like, nope, I'm going to run through this guy and continue and go from there. But
it's almost like I kind of just thought of this the other day because of watching the DBs, and I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what, maybe, and I haven't implemented this yet. This is one of my new innovative thoughts on my side, at least with younger kids. Maybe they should all play a little bit of defensive end, outside linebacker, because what happens is the space is tightened down.
You said, wait, well, what is it? You said the DBs should play.
They should all outside linebacker, a little bit of outside linebacker or DN.
Yeah, like a strong safety-ish type of position.
No, come down in the box, play.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like in the box, strong safety, right? Like a 4-2-5 type of gig where you're the jack or you're the rover, or where you're close to. Right, where you're like 5 yards from the ball
contact. So
because open field is a bitch,
and you lose confidence,
because when you
think you can't tackle, but
because you've missed more than you've completed it. Yeah, it's really hard.
I haven't done it yet, but I've been kind of, that's kind of how my mind
hemming it on.
I'm like, okay, what could be better? Because I'm watching them tackle and they're hit or miss, and I'm like, you know what? Let's get them. I'm like, maybe they should all play outside linebacker and D end a little bit, because when they do that, the person they're tackling is closer to them. He has less speed going, and when they tackle him, it's believe it or not, it's much less of a physical contact. It's much less of a blow. So, like, if you think about a DB, the scariest thing as a DB, when I was a safety in high school, I was big, so it really wasn't an issue. I didn't think about it.
It wasn't hard for me either, and because I always had success with it, right? Like, even playing safety as a sophomore, when I would hit a bigger back, he would fall. So I always had the confidence of like, dude, if I hit somebody, they're fucking going down, right? It wasn't even. Now I got to college. Holy shit, game changer, right? Now it's like, fuck, dude, like, I'm not, like, this guy's, oh shit, like, that was a big thing. I mean, Dave, like, look, strong safety in the box, I'm taking on pulling guards, pulling tackles, fullbacks, tight ends. I mean, these guys are, whatever weights you want to put them at. Like, here I am running downhill trying to hit a, 220-pound fullback, like, coming at me full go, and I'm supposed to, like, keep it in the box, set the edge. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a different mentality to it. And then
if you think about that, that's what it's like, I think.
Yes.
What it might have been like for us in college, where you're figuring out your leverage points. That's what it's like for youth kids. If they play against a bigger, stronger kid. So
hell yeah.
So that's why I'm thinking, like, the closer you are,
Right, give them
start.
that confidence. Build that confidence up for them by
They're not
getting
running
them a
as fast.
couple
Nobody's that fast at 5 yards
at 5 yards. Nope. Yep, you're 100% right. That's a great thought, man. It's a really great thought. How you do it within practice, right, is how you do it, right?
Well,
Like
it's
create a
within
drill for
team.
them to
That's
win.
the problem. Team is the problem because
Right. They'll do it in individual because there's a hyper level of focus on doing exactly what I'm asking you to do. It's always about when the bullets start flying, right? It's the same thing as if like you teach that technique and they do it great all week, and then all of a sudden they get in a game and you're like, dude, why are you resorting back to what you did previously? That's where it's just that it's like me apart. Coach, all you talk about is reps. All you talk about is reps.
It's hard to convince, like when the safety comes down and he blasts the back, but he's too high and he gets trucked, but he did the right thing. Okay.
Correct. Now they're like, wait, coach, you told me this would work, and now it didn't work. So I'm just going to go back to the other way.
Well, no. So then you don't want them to get that fear. They actually did the right thing. They just executed it partially wrong, but they did the right thing. That's how you have to come down. That's how you. But they didn't either execute it correctly, or maybe they're not strong enough yet. But so that's where moving them up a little bit, like play a little bit of D end, a little bit of linebacker, where you realize, oh, guys, right here, I tackle him. Oh, I can bring him to the down. I am strong enough. It's just that when there's a 10-yard window I got to run, and he has a 10-yard window, that is a lot harder in youth. And I would say it is similar to when you're a DB in college or a linebacker in college, and you got to fight these 300-pound guys, and you got to get through and tackle a 230-pound tailback. And you're like, holy shit, this guy's huge. And his legs are like tree trunks. So
literally.
That's what it feels like to them, though. To these kids, it feels like that kid has trunks for leg, even though he doesn't. But they feel like he does. You know what I'm saying? They're like, this guy's unstoppable. Because at 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, there's still a gap between kids physically.
Hell yeah.
The really stud kids. You know what I'm saying? Not that they're going to be studs when they're 18, but at this age, they're studs.
100%,
you know what I'm saying?
Man. You're 100% right. And that's the difference.
And you don't want to lose them. You don't want to lose them.
No, because they're really good players.
They're good players. They can run.
Really, really good players.
Run and then they're looking at you like, coach, are you really going to make me tackle? And I'm like, oh, you know what? I gotta think about it from their standpoint, from them as a smaller person, even though they're gifted and they're athletic and they're strong, and they're fast, but they're looking at this bigger guy and saying to themselves, WTF,
or they're making a business decision. Like, oh,
not everybody's like you were like, listen, your dad wasn't letting you think that way, right?
God, no.
But most kids,
but he used to use and you'll laugh at this, right? Because this taboo now. He used to if I would do something like that, right, where I would some guy was coming at me,
shy away.
Oh hell no, right? Like he would call me Mary. He'd be like, "Wow, okay, Mary, get back in line." And that ate away at me. I'm like, "Why are you calling me Mary?" Like, you know what I'm saying?
That'd be crazy too.
Like it was a different mentality. Like, yeah, you're small.
I still do a little bit of that with my son too. Like I'm careful with it.
You got to be careful
because I don't understand it.
I'm sure Nicole kind of has a little bit too. Like, why did you just call him Mary?
I'll be like, yeah. But boys do still understand. Like they don't want to be like, they don't want to be perceived as soft.
Dave, nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be at the non-cool table. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's
so it does strike a chord, but you want to help them navigate. What your dad did with you, like in the old days, was basically there was no explanation. They just called you Mary, and it wasn't like you're not. He's not taking the time to say to you, "You're coming in softer than you need to be."
I knew exactly what
it meant.
Without any questions, and my mom knew what it meant, right? She's like, "Hey, Dad called you Mary like 3 times today," and I'm like, "Yeah, Mom, I fucking know, okay? Like, I got it, all right? Like, you don't need to double." She's like, "Well, and look, my mom, greatest woman in the world, she could probably be an offensive coordinator, right? Like, probably call plays, and we'd be totally fine." But she knew, like, hey, like he said it 3 times, like." you know what you have to do, right? Like she wasn't like, well, he shouldn't call you. No, it was, hey, like, let's do what he says so you're not called that anymore, right? It wasn't like, I also just wasn't a guy that would put my head down and be like, called me. It was a challenge.
Yeah.
But I think I also grew up around that. Like, that's what Butler is.
Your Butler's more like that. And
I mean, look, Coach Souls talked about it yesterday, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's, you know, some of those, like the names he was spitting out. Like, and look, there were guys
still like that in Butler, though. I don't think it is.
Dude, it is.
It is. That's amazing.
Because, but here's why. Here's why. The head coach of Butler now, right, is not a Butler guy, but he was a Pumpkin Lakes guy, and that's what they did. You know what I'm saying? Like, they did the same thing, and it's the same program. And his father coached him. So it's the same, you know what I mean? Like, and you still have some guys that are still on. I mean, Coach Mickens is going into his 40-something year as an assistant, right? Like, and when I was in school, it was like, he was like more of the head coach, hands-on type of guy, whereas my actual head coach was more legit. Bro, 40-something years as an assistant.
I read he was a coach on the 82-83 team.
Yes. And then before that, he was a player.
82-83.
Dave, he's almost got – Dave, I think he has 8 rings.
82-83. So – if he
undefeated, unbelievable. 20, like my how about this? You ready?
What is he, 60 something? 60 something?
Somewhere around there. Because my old man is 65, and Coach Mick was like a sophomore. My dad was a senior, or a freshman when he was a senior. My DB coach, my last 2 years at Butler, junior and senior year, was one of the best players on the 82-83 team. Like, that's what we're talking about standard wise for that place. Right now, currently, Coach Mickens is still on that. Bobby Brown is the receivers coach, who was one of the good receivers with Dave Conklin on the 94 team, right? Like, there's still that link back. And the town, even though the world has changed, Butler's still Butler, dude. Like, look, like Coach Souls talked about it in his town, which is the same zip code, by the way, but across the mayor called him and said, hey, we're starting a bowling team. We don't have a bowling team code. Like, mayor, we don't have one. Oh, you will. Like, that's the type of, you can still get things done that way without having, I don't want to say not the wrong way, but like the red tape and stuff that we have to deal with in most programs, right? Like, there's a direct line of like, this is what I'm doing. Like, this is what
you know everybody.
And
there's
everybody
no
understands
like,
it.
I know
right?
the mayor. You know,
there's no like, oh, well, you know, the band needs field time. Like, dude, the football team's on the field, right? Or the cheering coach, like, hey, we need to football. Like, everybody understands that it's football, and then everybody else like kind of works with a different set of rules. And I don't want to say, like, I'm not saying that in a negative way, because it's not like those programs under football are diminished in any type of way, because they're still treated like it is what it is, right? Like, it's not it's not to like, oh, they're that. No, it's everybody's together. It's just different, man. Like you said, that town is tucked away, and they're still like, it's still 1982. I go back there, man, and I'm like, holy shit, dude. Like, they're like, oh, man, like, what are you doing back? Like, hey, welcome. Like, it's like flashback, dude. Like, okay, you know, just walk into the pizza place in town, and they're like, dude, here's a slice. I'm like, okay. Like, they still got posters on the board of state championships and teams that whatever. Like,
doesn't change. That's
which is why, and look, it's why they'll win another title this year. Like,
oh, they're really good this year too.
Dave, they might be better than last year.
They have David Smith, the quarterback's brother is still there. Oh.
Smith, dude, I watched him throw it back. Coach Mick sent me a video the other day, and he's like, could never run back shoulder with you. This kid bank like windows, like, and obviously being in the NJ, whatever that is, that league helps, because like, I mean,
Well, that
if
league
they
is
don't
falling
score,
off so much. Oh my god.
they're gonna play. They're gonna score 40 points a game. Their first test will be like week 8. You know what I'm saying? It's like scrimmages for these guys. Like it really is, and it's a combination of a lot of things, but they're also really fucking talented.
They're really good.
Yeah,
like some of these teams.
They're playing. They open up tomorrow night against Becton.
The only reason I know it is because I'm shocked because I would live in Middletown, and Eurobrick was a bigger town too. Like when you play, you don't realize you're like obviously across town. River Plaza is really good, but it's similar, like a big. They're part of the same big town,
right?
And you think about, okay, that's who that's our battle. But when you go play some of the other towns who have good athletes, but like you don't realize that you have a plethora of athletes, like a plethora.
Oh my god, right. Whereas at like Butler, it was like me, and then what I'm saying. I'm not putting myself on a pedestal.
You guys at Butler have a plethora compared to, let's say, Saddlebrook.
Oh my god, Saddlebrook has 2. Butler has 7.
7. Like, how are they going to stop Butler with 2?
Right, and that 7 one year might be quarterback, receiver, guard, and then the next, like, it might be that, right, and then the next year it might be safety, D line. You know what I mean? Like, there's always like some guys that are like, all right, this guy's really good at this position, but then he probably plays both ways and never leaves the field, and he's really good at both. Like,
right, which makes it
as a group one.
That's a group one. That's a problem because everybody's playing both ways.
But right, and the quarterback, who's the punter, is now okay. This guy can go on any play, so it's like you got to like it's. And the other thing, I think they've gone into this that was really like it was eye opening to me. I would hurt them going into that league because one of the things that was always really good for us was we always played bigger, better schools, and we'd get in the playoffs at 500. 4-4, and then we'd rip through group 1 because it was like, dude, we've played, a group 3 team. We played like a Newark school, right? And we might not have won those games, but
that's why
it taught
BPSL originally was good because you played bigger school. Like when I was in high school, and actually it was BPSL up until like the early 2000, like maybe late 2000s. Like 8 or 9 or something, but
right around when I got into it was when it all started to change.
But when it changed to the NJIC, they created like how the Shore has like a have and have not structure in the leagues. Well, they created that in the NJIC. So what happened was the haves only got better because they played other halves, right? And then if they played a have not, they would murder them. And it was very difficult because I remember I was in that climb and I would, you're trying to convince the kids like, dude, first step, win our basically have not league, be the best, be among the best there so we can move up and then face more of the haves so we can be good enough that we can, you know what I'm saying?
Which is how the Shore works, right? Because if you're good for 2 years, they bump you up a division. You know what I'm saying?
So it's saved, which it also probably did for the Shore. It saved football in a lot of places, meaning because the have-nots for the most part play against the have-nots, you have a chance and you can win some games. So it saves football, which is good from that standpoint. For making a long-term powerhouse, it could be hard, which is what also some of the Shore schools struggle with, right? When you make that jump, you have a couple of good years, you jump up, and then you get smoked and you get pushed back down, right? Whereas the haves are always playing each other and they know the level they have to be at every year. So even if they have an off year, they're still playing at a very, very high level, probably higher than most of the have-nots, even if the have-nots have a better record that year. So that's what's difficult. And that's why now with Butler in the NJIC, I mean, Butler.
I mean, you look at it too, like,
and probably unstoppable.
Correct. And you look at too, like down here, like your RBC, who now has to play. They play public schools all regular season, beat up on them, and then they get to the playoffs and they got to go play Bergen. And it's woo. Whereas, Pope John and St. Peter's and Seton Hall Prep, Del Barton, like they're playing those big wigs all year. Now they get to the playoffs. All right, now we just got to beat the team we lost to in the regular season, right? Like, I think that's difficult. Like a St. Augustine, who's a really good team, but what do they play week in, week out? Because there's only so much finagling of your schedule you can absolutely. And then you see teams like public schools, like Hackensack, Teaneck. Like, dude, where have they been?
Oh, well,
and that's hard because
Teaneck has changed for a long time. They've been changed for a long time.
Yeah.
Hackensack, because I'm not there anymore.
And look, he does a great job, but he does a great job, right?
They lost. Hackensack lost. Which town? They lost.
Oh yeah,
Maywood. Maywood goes to Becton now. And that's why Becton, if you look, Becton's the other team in the NJIC, that mega powerhouse, because the Maywood voted to get out of Hackensack. And Maywood
why would you
had a lot of good play. Actually, I think that's where Wrestler's from. I think he's from Maywood. And the
reasoning behind Butler making the jump was other sports, right? Like we could compete in football with other teams, but when it came to the other sports, we just compete, right? So that was the premise behind Butler moving to a Group 1.
Yeah, conference. That makes sense. I think that makes sense.
You get that 100%. And look, it's helped, right? Because
but that hurt Hackensack. That hurt Hackensack
because those kids were different.
That was another 10 players, okay, from a suburb. So Hackensack was Hackensack, South Hackensack, Maywood, Rochelle Park, right? So 3 suburban areas with Hackensack, which is more inner city. So it gave a great formula to have great teams, right? So what you had was, but when Maywood leaving, you lost one of the suburban towns that you were going to get 10 football players every year from. So now you don't get those 10 football players. Doesn't mean that they're your superstars, but that's 10 bodies every year that you're losing that are now going to Becton. And Becton as a Group 1 gets 10 bodies? Dude. That's huge. That's huge.
Huge.
That's why you see I think the 3 best in the NJ, I think, are Butler, Heights, and Becton, I think, are the 3 best. I'm trying to think if I'm missing somebody. I think those are the 3 best teams year in year, like consistently now, because And I think that's what helped propel Becton into the next level, was getting more players, because I know Farina was telling me
at Group 1 it becomes a numbers game, right? It just becomes a numbers thing.
Yep,
that's
that's
part of it, man.
That's it, and that hurts Hackensack, and then Hackensack becomes more like Teaneck when that happens, where you have people that don't go to your school, you have people that do go to your school, like, you know what I'm saying, you have a lot of people in your town that go to private schools in Hackensack.
Yep.
You have, so you're left with less players. It's not like the old days of how it was. Like I don't think it's ever. Once Maywood left, I don't know if it could be only a matter of time before Rochelle Park leaves, which is also a suburban.
Right.
That's the suburban town next to Saddlebrook on the side by Paramus. So they're right next to Saddlebrook. Like literally, you go past the Saddlebrook Diner and under that little underpass, and that's immediately Rochelle Park. So it's like right next. There was years when they were like, Rochelle Park's going to come to Saddlebrook, and everybody at Saddlebrook's like, great, we'll pick up like 5 or 6 football players. You know what I mean? But that didn't happen. Hackensack wouldn't let Rochelle Park go. But once Maywood left, like, you would think that it's only a matter of time before they vote to go somewhere, because towns are all like, if you're paying taxes in your town, if you want to go to a public school that you want to go to, you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
But anyway, all right, we'll see you next week. Good luck tomorrow. Tomorrow
night.
Good luck tomorrow night.
Thanks, buddy.
We go to 2-0. That'll be
You have a
great.
good one.
All right.
It's always nice to beat Long Branch.
That's
I don't know,
always-
such something about it, dude. I mean, I don't know if it was because that was our Thanksgiving Day game and it was made out to be a bigger thing when we were at RBR, but like ever since I've been down here, it was like, hey, let's beat Long Branch. So, all right, well, hopefully.
I think I'm the only RBR coach in history to be undefeated against Long Branch. 1-0, baby. 1-0, baby. 1-0.
We got it. We made it happen. That was a cold one too. That was a cold one.
I love rivalry games. They're my favorite.
Hell yeah, because we're Group 1 guys and everything was a rivalry game.
Rivalry, the best. But
guys used to ask me all the time, who was your biggest rival at Butler? I said the next team we played. Like you could name it: Pequannock, DePaul, Montville, freaking Madison. Like whoever was on that schedule, like, we were dialed up. Caldwell was a good one on Thanksgiving Day. I really enjoyed that. I always loved my Thanksgiving Day game more than anything.
Thanksgiving Day games were in the old days were great. All right,
so many alumni there, crazy.
All right, guys, I gotta tell you something interesting. So,
oh boy.
Anyway, that's great.
All right.
Till next week. Have a great weekend.
Yes.